we have gone through a day of rescue operations and cleanup operations. We'll be bouncing around to various locations to see the various stages of cleanup, but as of this moment, it is pitch black, save for our lights here in Plainfield. There is a town meeting going on. Linda McLennan will be covering that, and we'll switch to her live in just a few moments. But first, let me give you an update exactly where we stand. Jim Avila reports that the spot of most of the fatalities in this disaster, about 7 to 9, Crest Hill now says they do not expect to find any more fatalities there in a cornfield where the tornado blew them literally out of the apartment complex and into the field. We have an official total of 360 people who have been treated for injuries. 64 remain in the hospital tonight. 10 are in critical condition. There were 600 people homeless last night, staying in shelters or with relatives. The tornado, reflecting now on some of the information coming from the National Weather Bureau, was in a storm system that proved to be about 20 miles long and reduced down to a tornado about 700 yards wide. Within that path, the tornado worked its damage. It started just a few blocks from this point, and we are at James Street and Lockport in Plainfield. It blew out the best trees of Plainfield, came over the DuPage River, blasted into the Plainfield High School, and was then on its way to various communities in Crest Hill and West Joliet. Winds were clocked at up to 300 miles an hour. Tonight, there are about 200 National Guardsmen that are on the scene. There are some serious concerns among residents here about looters. There have been a few incidents. We have 9 arrested yesterday. There were none today. 30 police agencies have responded, and they have been helping out by stopping traffic, stopping people who don't belong here other than the residents from coming into the communities. About 225 customers have had their gas shut off. The gas company has had its workers in, and literally what they have to do is dig into the debris and cap off the gas line. 6,200 people are still without power. There are no street lights here, but we can say that ComEd is working feverishly and doing an excellent job. They have to replace all the telephone poles that were wooden and literally snapped or bent in this area. The wires were torn down, and they are strewn all over the place. So they have physically had to come in, dig new holes, bring in new poles, but they have done it, and they are continuing to work through the night. It's been a busy summer. 300 of those ComEd workers are here. 10,000 people have had no phones, but they should be back by Sunday. That's an unusual figure. It does not apply here because some people right across the street have miraculously had their phone service restored, and they are quite surprised and thankful for that. That's a wrap-up as we stand with an update right now at this day after. A town meeting is taking place here in Plainfield. It's become the center of the rescue and cleanup operations. The headquarters are here. Much of the activity is focused here, and they feel that the worst damage was here. At this town meeting, there are a lot of questions to be answered, and we have Linda McLennan covering that part of this story. Linda?
Bill, about 250 people have gathered here at the Indian Trail Middle School, one of the schools that was spared during yesterday's tornadoes, for a town meeting, as you say, what is essentially an information session. A chance for the people of Plainfield to hear from state and local officials on a whole host of issues. Everything from water, the water supply. They were told, in case they didn't know already, that the boil order has been lifted for Plainfield, but that in one of the suburbs that has no water and no power, the National Guard has been called in to distribute bottled water. They're telling them about safe food handling in the case of electrical failure, and also about the availability of mental health counseling for people who are having difficulty coping. They're hearing about the money. Very important, the money that's available on both the state and federal level, how to apply for it, and that those offices will open on Saturday in several centers. The Attorney General has sent a representative. The Attorney General's office is opening 3 offices, one in Joliet, one here in Plainfield, and also another one in Crest Hills, warning people and advising people to be on the lookout for consumer fraud, warning them that there might be some unscrupulous contractors circulating in the area. The Attorney General's office will offer some advice in that regard. Also, a lot of the people that we talked to before the meeting wanted to know about schools. As you probably know, 3 schools were destroyed in yesterday's tornadoes, and that leaves about 1,600 to 1,800 students with nowhere to report. And I'm told that there's a Catholic high school in Joliet that's vacant that might be pulled into service. So a lot of parents have gathered here wanting to know what's going to happen with their children as they report back to school. They're also giving people just a sense of the magnitude of the disaster that they have lived through. One of the officials said, to get more information, just listen to the television, listen to the radio, and somebody in the audience yelled out, well, what happens if I don't have a TV? What happens if I don't have a radio? He raised a good point. And what we're hearing from a lot of people is word is being spread. Communications are in many cases down to word of mouth. And so a lot of people, one person said, we were just too busy to be able to listen to the TV and the radio. So a lot of important information is being disseminated at this town meeting. And we'll be back to you later on with a representative from the Attorney General office to give you some more information, some of the information that these people are getting. Bill?
Thank you, Linda. Everybody is there, so we should be getting the straight scoop, as they say. Much of the day was spent literally digging through debris to find personal belongings. This brick coming from a brick siding that literally fell or was blown off this side of the house along with the wall. Opening it up, we're at an intersection. We're right across from the high school all day long. The residents of apartments and the owners here were looking for things like a notebook, letters, some photographs. Many of the things they just walked away from because there were also a lot of insurance adjusters that had filled this neighborhood. We have been keeping our eye on Crest Hill, and especially the apartment complexes there where tragedy really struck when the high winds of 300 miles an hour slammed in and literally blew people out of the apartment complex. And we want to get an update now from Lester Holt on the scene there. Lester?
Good evening, Bill. The roar of tractors and backhoes has ceased to be replaced by the drone of generators powering floodlights to light up the wrecked buildings here. Police will be patrolling throughout the night looking for looters. They arrested a couple earlier this evening. The operation as far as moving the debris has ended at nightfall. The crews have gone home. They'll be back here tomorrow. Hanging over them is that nagging question, what about the unaccounted? We've heard numbers as high as 6 people unaccounted for. People like a lady that was supposed to be in the building behind me. She was moving from the 1st to the 3rd floor. Her car was found, her car keys, house keys. They don't know where she is. She's among the unaccounted for. They don't know if maybe she just came and left with someone or if she may be trapped in the rubble. So the operation will continue tomorrow, and that big question mark, the unaccounted, hangs over this massive cleanup operation. What nature hath wrought,
Marco! Marco, go!
man tonight is completing.
We moved in here, and what they had to do was move out all the cars first. Once they got it out, my people came in, hand-checked everything, just in case in the event there were other people in here that they hadn't found. And now we're just cleaning it up and helping out.
With an energy and determination befitting a war zone, public works crews from several south suburbs descended here late today like an army, bulldozers and dump trucks, completing the destruction and beginning the cleanup. A few doors down, the pace is no less urgent, but the cleanup is done by hand. These buildings may yet yield bodies.
We are making a final check. All this debris outside the building here is going to be hauled away, cleaned by hand, as you can see, with all the people.
The number of missing is uncertain. Dogs and their state police mascots scour the rubble. The dog is given the grim command, find dead.
Some of the reaction we're looking for in the dog is change in attitude, whether their ears might drop. Of course, we're looking for a good alert, the dog to keep going back to a certain area. But a dog's attitude with dealing with deceased or death will change. Animals have this way of sensing it.
Most of these buildings are uninhabitable. Millie McCarthy stands amidst all her worldly possessions, all she and a few helpers could retrieve in 3 minutes. What is it like with 3 minutes to decide what to take and what not to take?
Oh, it's just like your life flashing in front of you. It's not much time.
Hard choices?
Yeah, hard. That one right there on the corner, all the glass that's broken out, that was my apartment. Yeah, and I was on the outside waiting for my daughter to come home off the bus. And I was actually in and out of the foyer, and that's when it hit.
It would be so easy, maybe even welcome, to carry it all away in dump trucks and label it history, albeit tragic history. But with human lives still unaccounted for, it is a tragedy still unfolding.
The coroner's office, the management from the apartment complex, they're doing everything within their power to coordinate family members, making sure that they might be somewhere else.
The mayor this evening said he believes that they won't find any more bodies. That's good news. As far as the unaccounted, they can only assume that many of them perhaps came after the storm, saw the damage, have found shelter, have not checked in with anybody. They will continue to search tomorrow, carefully removing the debris here. But right now the belief is they will not find any others. The dogs went to the cornfield where the earlier dead were found, 7 of the earlier dead. They went to the buildings, and while they had a few scents, a follow-up found nothing at all. So the search will go on, perhaps not with the intensity, though, of the last 48 hours. That's the story from here. Back to you, Bill.
Thank you, Lester. We, too, have buildings that have been laid open, just bare walls ripped out, and this is an object of a search today. It was found earlier. A child had left behind a favorite stuffed animal. One of the things that we find inside is insulation or mud. The high winds take this and just sort of ball it up and then spray it against the wall so it sticks. And you look in and it looks like it's either mud or with a high velocity force has splattered it against the walls all over and inside. It can be inside a refrigerator, almost anything, really giving evidence to the strength of the kind of force that caused this devastation. I'm right across the street, and as I look over to Plainfield High School, the scene of probably the largest devastation in the sense that of one building really being hit. There are no lights over there, and Elizabeth Vargas, I know that you're there. I have no idea where, however, so I throw it to you blind. Can you give us an update?
Bill, we're out here in the middle of the darkness. Nightfall, in fact, has brought a kind of peace here tonight. The chainsaws have quieted, the choppers are finally gone, and finally the sirens, for the first time really, are silent. Now, police are patrolling here full time. They've got several patrol cars circling the rubble that once was Plainfield High School on the day that was supposed to be the first day of classes. Just yesterday, the gymnasium was filled with football and volleyball players practicing for a game. Today, it is clear there will be no more games, no more classes, no more Plainfield High.
It's just unbelievable. It's like it's not even happening. It's like it's just a dream right now. You don't want to even face it.
It looks worse today than it did yesterday, really. I don't know, it's just that, I guess yesterday, went to bed, thought it was like all a dream, wake up, I'm going to be all better, but it's not.
There's no heating system, there's no, plumbing is gone. There's just nothing here. You have to have heat, hot water, a light, plumbing. You have to have those things to conduct school. It's beyond description. You just can't imagine.
What did you think this morning when you got here and saw this?
Well, I spent half the night here last night.
What did you think when you first saw it?
Well, first of all, I watched them take out a fellow co-worker.
I'm sorry.
If this would have happened today, probably most of us, at least some of us, would have been hurt or injured or dead.
I'm thankful that all the kids are okay and that we were able to get out in time.
How did the school look to you today?
Pretty sad. Pretty sad.
We're going to be going to a different school homecoming. I mean, we're not going to have a homecoming. Not having football. We're not going to have football. I have no house. I have no place to go. Where are we supposed to go? What are we supposed to do?
Bill, I was taking a tour of that school myself, as you saw, walking through with the maintenance personnel, and it really is quite devastating. The inside of it is completely flooded out. Water pipes are still gushing water, and there is insulation materials you were mentioning earlier on the homes. It's piled up against the walls inside the schools. Computers are everywhere on the floor. It's unbelievable. They think they're going to have to level the entire facility. By the end of the week, they hope to have some word as to when and where school will finally start for the more than 1,000 students at Plainfield High. Back to you.
That may be the big cost. I mean, that's going to cost millions to rebuild and even to take that one down. The spooky thing about the high school, Elizabeth, perhaps you shared it too, was that the desks were all in place, books, some of even the laboratory equipment, and yet the windows were gone, the ceiling was gone.